All of it is born out of deregulation. If we held our regulatory agencies to the same standard as the European marketplace, we could create more competitive products. We could also heavily subsidize certain industries to become the dominant force in the same way that China does. All right, let's watch what Donald Trump had to say about the EU. It says it was formed to screw the United States.
On the EU tariffs, Mr. President, have you just made a decision on what level you will seek on tariffs in the European Union?
We have made a decision. We'll be announcing it very soon, and it'll be 25%, generally speaking, and that'll be on cars and all other things. And European Union is a different case than Canada, different kind of case. They've really taken advantage of us in a different way. They don't accept our cars. They don't accept essentially our farm products. They use all sorts of reasons why not, and we accept everything of them.
Okay, hear me out. The European Union despises Chinese cars, and yet they allowed Chinese cars foolishly into their marketplaces until it got to a degree where the Chinese cars were directly outcompeting domestic manufacturing. Why is it that the EU does not allow American cars into its marketplace in the same way that they allow Chinese cars? You might be wondering this question. You might be wondering why that's the case. Is it because they despise Amerifats and they love the Chinese? No. It's because American cars are heavily deregulated. It is either illegal. Okay, I'll explain it to you this way. Ford F-150. Until this past year, it was the highest selling vehicle in the United States of America. This year, RAV4 by Toyota has actually passed the Ford F-150. But next year, it will probably be Ford F-150. In order for someone to be able to purchase a Ford F-150 and drive it on any given average random European street, they would need a commercial driver's license. That is the most popular vehicle in the United States of America. That is before we even factor in all of the other road safety violations the Ford F-150 is in direct violation of. Okay? No shit. Europeans don't buy our fucking cars because our cars are ginormous. If you've ever been to Europe, you would understand that a Ford F-150, for example, the most popular car in the United States of America, would not fit on the average European street. Year over year, Ford F-150 has gotten larger and larger and larger due to CAFE standards. To avoid pre-existing regulations, the Ford Motor Company has made the cars into ginormous trucks. And then we complain about why Europe won't buy our shit. And the same goes for food. Our health and safety standards are not up to par with the European Union. I was listening to NPR this morning where they were talking about how we're going to fix the poultry situation, the avian flu situation. We have to vaccinate the chicken, okay? Guess what? Ain't nobody wants to buy vaccinated gay autistic chicken, okay? Nobody wants to buy gay-ass chicken. They want straight chickens that are patriotic and unvaccinated. Okay, the second part of what I'm talking about, the gay and autistic stuff, is a joke, obviously. But like that literally is a thing that the American government is currently thinking about in order to combat, the further spread of avian flu, and it's going to remove the actual poultry that was shipped overseas because people are not going to want to buy it. Because you can actually hide illnesses if you sell vaccinated chicken, apparently. Anyway, we also have shittier food safety standards, shittier health standards. And this is a problem. We force our product on the European marketplace, even when the European marketplace says, hey, this is like not something that we want. All of it is born out of deregulation. If we held our regulatory agencies to the same standard as the European marketplace, we could create more competitive products. We could also heavily subsidize certain industries to become the dominant force in the same way that China does. The difference is, however, the Chinese manufacturers care about global safety standards. That's the only difference. That's it. America, on the other hand, is like, no, we're the big guy in the room. You buy my F-150s, even if you can't drive it on your roads. How insane. What an insane prospect. We did this to Japan back in the day. Literally. We were like, I don't give a shit. Your cars are too good. And also, they're too cheap. They're too good. They're too safe. They're too cheap. You. And because of that, we still can't even get a Toyota Hilux in this goddamn country until it's like 25 years in the future. And in that process, we literally, one, basically made it illegal for some of these vehicles to enter the American marketplace. And then also sold Japan a bunch of F-150s they can't even use. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? Doug D is a communist now. Oh, I've seen him talk. I've watched this video.
I'm astonished. They shouldn't have sent them to us. Now we know how good they are. Now we're like, crap, we got to catch up. If we let capitalism sort this out, China wins this game. All these automakers are pulling back on these EVs. If that's the way we want to go, then that's the way we want to go. But the Chinese EVs, I've driven them. They're way ahead. They're way ahead and they're way cheaper. And China's going to walk around and start selling these cars in the other markets and start gobbling up market share in all those places too. And pretty soon our auto industry is going to be Ford selling cars to Americans. When we eventually adopt it, when we have to, will China have already succeeded?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
And they will have charging stations and better technology. Right. And yes, 100%.
And that's the fear. That's the fear with walking this back. That's the fear with the government walking it back. And that's why we can't just necessarily just let capitalism sort it out when we have the conversation. Because capitalism may sort it out in a way that is not favorable for us. And our government has this isn't pure capitalism. Our government has the ability to kind of put their finger on the scales of what actually succeeds.
This is not where I thought this conversation would go.
I'm surprised to hear myself saying this too, but I've been thinking about this more and more over the last few weeks. And when you hear about
Ford CEO a few months ago had
Dude, this is the classic Jim Farley equation. Like, Jim Farley was like, yeah, they're cooking. They're cooking us.
an interview where he said that he drove the Xiaomi SU7.
He's been driving it around.
And it's like, this is better than what we're building.
Yeah. That's interesting. I drive these Chinese.
Living on the border, you sometimes see Mexican people crossing with Chinese EVs and Hiluxes like they're trying to flex. Oh my God. America failing is good though? Not necessarily, because it causes a lot of heartache to Americans. It's not like the billionaires and millionaires and then fixing inequality in the United States of America or significantly reducing our military presence around the globe. It's not doing any of the good things. America is basically collapsing, and while it's collapsing, it's going to take out the entire world with it. We are we're the spoiled kid on the block who goes, oh, I lost this board game. I'm flipping the fucking table. Empires don't die quietly.
We have about a $300 billion deficit with the European Union. Now, I love the countries of Europe. I guess I'm from there at some point a long time ago, right? But indirectly. Pretty directly too, I guess. But I love the countries of Europe. I love all countries, frankly, all different. But European Union's it was formed in order to screw the United States. I mean, look, let's be honest. The European Union was formed in order to screw the United States. That's the purpose of it. And they've done a good job of it, but now I'm president.
What will happen if these countries or the EU retaliate?
They can't. I mean, they can try. But they can't.
China did. They imposed tariffs that went into effect. China's retaliatory tariffs on the 10th of February. Has there been any impact that you've been able to observe?
That's right. No, they can do it, and they can try, but the numbers can never equal what ours, because we could go off. We are the pot of gold. We're the one that everybody wants, and they can retaliate, but it cannot be a successful retaliation, because we just go cold turkey. We don't buy anymore, and if that happens, we win.
Are you talking to Eric Ritz about privatizing deportations?
Would you like to see? What concessions would you like to see?
Oh, I don't want to tell you right now, but I can tell you that
I don't want to talk about that.
NATO you can forget about. I think that's probably the reason the whole thing started. And I think, JD, we can say that. Do you have a statement on that? You've been very much involved. I gave him the beauty.
Great. Gave me the hardest question, sir. I mean, look, as the president said, we're not going to do the negotiation in public with the American media. He's going to do it in private with the president of Russia, with the president of Ukraine, and with other leaders. And I think that's how this has to go. I think I just want to push back against some of the criticism I've seen of the administration on this, because every single time the president engages in diplomacy, you guys preemptively accuse him of conceding to Russia. He hasn't conceded anything to anyone. He's doing the job of a diplomat, and he is, of course, the diplomat in chief as the President of the United States.
I mean, as a long-standing advocate for demanding that the Biden administration come to the table with Russia and implement a ceasefire, conditional ceasefire agreement, I have to admit, Donald Trump is definitely going a little bit above and beyond in terms of concessions, okay? Come on, be for fucking real, dude. Donald Trump has all the power to control Israel, and I feel like he's in the beginning when they were forcing for a ceasefire, he was more critical of Israel than he is with Russia. And we know his ass loves Israel. Like, in terms of the expectations, like him forcing Israel's hand into a conditional ceasefire agreement was unironically a little bit unexpected. And in this situation with Russia, the ways in which he is talking about the situation is certainly going way above and way beyond my expectation. It's a shocking level of glazing. Krasnov proof in the article, by the way, I can't tell if chatters are memeing when they say the Krasnov proof or whatever, or if they're being, like, I don't know what that's about.
On the gold cards, sir, can you talk a little bit more about the vetting process?
He'll go through a process. The process is being worked out right now, and we're going to be very careful.
Will there be restrictions on, for instance, can Chinese nationals get
No,
one?
we're not going to
Iranian
restrict.
nationals
We're
get
probably not going to be restricting too much in terms of countries, but maybe in terms of individuals. We want to make sure we have people that love our country and are capable of loving the country.
Mr. President,
Top G popped off in the chat, but I missed it. Wait, I have to find what he said. Hold on. Let's see what Top G had to bring us. I mean, he is truly a poet. The USSR collapsed without firing a single one of its 5,000 nukes or sending a single one of its 30,000 tanks into another country. You will fall the same way, not with a bang, but with a whimper. We will make sure it doesn't hurt too bad, for we are kind. Elon is one of the few Americans allowed to maintain 100% control of business operating in China. Premier Li Qiang saw a potential asset. 6 years later, he is in the Oval Office while Sun picks his nose, and the U.S. government applauds him. My favorite chatter, I think, even though he hurts my feelings a lot whenever he says, like, I will suffer for the crimes such as going to a dojo that was pro Hirohito. I didn't know, you know what I mean? Like when he says, I'm too cowardly to ever visit the beautiful nation state of China. The U.S. isn't ranked as low as Trump claims it is. How could it be? You have Chinese students in that country. The roads have no traffic markings, but there are moving vehicles. This video makes me sick. The West has a fundamental belief that they have the most moral of all cultures, and they are the apex of human progress and development. They believe this is inherent to them alone. In their mind, in order for any nation to modernize, they must first westernize. First thing he says this on this beautiful day, he says, this stream is overrated. Classic fake socialist, posts on social media owned by a fascist, doesn't use Blue Sky or Xiaohongshu, traitorous Turk. And this is how you know this motherfucker's not really Chinese, okay? He went a little too far, okay? He went a little too far and said, why don't you post on Blue Sky? That's how you know this motherfucker's not Chinese. And he is just like us, white Chinese, okay? White guys who are Chinese. It's called RCTA, race change to Asian, okay? Some might say it's race change to another. I say race change to Asian, okay? Specifically Chinese. That is what this community is about, and that's precisely what Top G is as well. We pushed out traitorous Turks like you from East Asia before, and we will continue to do so today. You are no different from your colleague NS Contact Freedom, contempt for the Chinese, hated by Erdogan, and no talent for basketball. That's disgusting that you compared me to NS Contact. You fucking piece of shit. I've never... This is what I mean, by the way, when I say he's hurtful, because he says lies, like contempt for the Chinese. I've never displayed contempt for the Chinese. I am white Chinese, okay? I am Chinese. How dare you? Only CRT I care about is Chinese racial transition. Yep. Have we been to China? No, not yet. I'm actually holding back on going to China because I'm going to like it too much and want to stay there and become a white monkey. Live out my live out my white monkey dreams. What could have been. Until you get cut off in line waiting for something. What will all of the USA people do that wrote all the anti-China stuff now that they don't have it? If I'm the Chinese Foreign Ministry, I'm immediately going, yeah, no, don't worry, King. I got you. I'll give you some money. I'll give you some money. Start glazing China. Your mother's maiden name is literally Uyghur. How can they claim you're not Chinese? True. Literally so true. So true. My mother's maiden name is literally Uyghur, okay? That's right. And guess what? I am not an East Turkestan separatist. Xi Jinping, I love you. I am basically white Chinese, low key. All right. News. Major changes coming. I like that right after me making jokes about being white Chinese, someone goes, Are you actually joking, or are you this pro-China? Or are you actually pro-China? I don't know, man. Look at what the American government is doing. Let's take a look. Major changes coming to federal government led by Musk's Doge. Most significant move to dismiss federal workers now underway. This is a big one. Agencies must submit plans to significantly reduce staff size by March 13th. Social Security admin under instruction to cut staff in half. Labor Department eyes gutting the EEOC office by 90%. Mass lease cancellations of federal buildings underway. 100 plus IRS leases to be nixed per records. Helps make sense why Musk and Trump wanted unified front today with the cabinet secretaries. Great. What is this? Oh boy. Big story from Jessica Burbank. An apparent Luigi copycat is on the loose in Oregon. Shots fired into the home of insurance CEO. Uh-oh. Lake Oswego police provided drop site news with an image of the suspect who is still at large. Around 4 a.m. on Friday, February 21st, the home of CEO of an Oregon's workers' compensation insurance company was shot multiple times according to a police report with no injuries and the house sustaining minor damage. The Oregonian/Oregon Live reported an internal email. At around 4 a.m., I heard what I thought were rocks thrown at my house, but discovered they were gunshots, he reportedly wrote in the email. An investigation is underway, and we don't know if this was specifically targeted to me. Okay. We don't know if it's a potential Luigi copycat or not. We don't know anything. So, and chat, do not fucking Fed post, you dumbasses. I swear to God, under this new administration, I think a lot of y'all don't understand that your social media footprint will get you imprisoned. Like, there is a likelihood that your social media footprint could get you imprisoned. Okay? Anyway, I'll be in Mexico by then, broski. I'm not American, silly. All right. Let's get to, after this, after Trump talking about Zelensky, I'm going to talk about what the Democratic leadership is doing across the board.
Is loosening of sanctions on Russia a potential option as part of an overall deal?
We have sanctions on Russia. No, I want to see if we make a deal first, but I think we will.
But is it a bargaining chip? I'm asking.
I've had very good conversations with President Putin. I've had very good conversations with President Zelensky, and until 4 weeks ago, nobody had conversations with anybody. It wasn't even a consideration. Nobody thought you could make peace. I think you can.
But if Mr. Putin gets to keep the land that was claimed by force, if the Russians get to keep the territory that they claimed by force, doesn't that send a dangerous message, let's say, to China about Taiwan?
You try and take it away, right? We're gonna do the best we can. We're gonna do the best we can to make the best deal we can for both sides. But for Ukraine, we're gonna try very hard to make a good deal so that they can get as much back as possible. We want to get as much back as possible.
Mr. President, just to bring this full...
We'll cut it out after maybe this question. Go ahead.
To bring this full circle, back to a question.
You always like to finish on a good one.
Sir, they want you to negotiate with them instead of with President Putin.
Back to a question about these...
Peacekeepers. You have a lot of confidence in us because you assume there's going to be peace. You know, it's possible it doesn't work out. There is possibility.
I had a question.
I hope it does for the sake of humanity, because if you look at the pictures that I've looked at, you don't want to look at them. Go ahead.
I had a question back on these cuts to the federal workforce. You mentioned you're interested in doing another round of this